So now let's study how we can update. Let's study the update API now. Now see, this is how to understand update. No, just get the logic clear. If this is a record in my database, okay, let's say this is some random record in my database. So roll number is 1 and name is whatever name you can give, John, and email address is john@gmail.com. Okay, and age is, let's say, 70. So now this is my record in the database and I want to update this record with this new value. So 1 should now become Alice. So after my update, this is before, and after my update, so I will first search the employee on the roll number. Is this record there? So if this record is there, it will give me this record. So this record is my record from database. Okay, so if you observe, this is the student from user, student values from user. This is my student value from user object. You can take this as a request body, and this is my student values from database. So first what I will do is so I can take this roll number as a path variable. Rather, I will not take it over here, I'll take it as a path variable. Okay, so whatever my endpoint will be there, like update student, and then I will take the student roll number as a path variable. Okay, so this roll number will go as a path variable, and this student value from user will go as a request body. Okay, so we'll mix up both together. Both the techniques will mix up what we learned today, and we'll try to implement what we have learned. So first what will it do is, it will first do a get, find user by ID we had. So first it will go and find the user. Okay, find by ID, roll number. So if this record is there, it will return, and this record will come in the student values from database object. Okay, so the student values from database object will look something like this. John@gmail.com, and age will be 70. Okay, so that object should look something like that. I'll just change the color coding. Now what will I do is, whatever values I have got from the user, I will set it to the student value from database. So now I will call setter methods on this object. Okay, I will call setter methods on this object now. Dot set, what do I want to set? S name. So I will call set S name. And what S name I want to set? What is the new S name? So I will call the getter from this. So I will say the name will be whatever has come over here. Dot get S name. Who is understanding the logic what I'm trying to do? So first fetch the data object which we want to modify from the database, and then set its value by saying what? get s. Then I will set the email of this object. So from where will I get the email from? What is the email value I want to set? Whatever is over here. This value is in which object? Student from user, right? So I will say student from user dot get email. So whatever data you want to change, you can change from there. And then I also want to change the age. So I will say set age is get age from this one. Set age and get age. Now this object will look same like this, correct? And now I can just save this object. So in the repo, call the emp repo function and dot save, and this object you can pass as an argument because all the changes have come over here. So when you call save this, this will be modified from John this, it will be modified to what we have passed, Alice at the rate gmail.com and age 21. Okay, so let's get going and let's do the practical of this. So, and changes is put mapping. Okay, your, so we have get mapping, post mapping, delete mapping, right? So like this. So if you want to do a update, so you have to use put mapping. Okay, so let me first make the function the public. Okay, so if you want to return the update object, you can say okay, let update the record and return with the updated object. So you can say update student. Now this update student will take the updated of this object. What is this? Student values from user as a request body. So at request body, and what am I giving it? Student values from user. Okay, so I'm saying stud user. Okay, just shortcut stud user and stud db. Okay, so in the application I will call them as stud user, and this I will call as stud db. So that will come from the user. As of now I'm not returning anything, so this will, okay, this object is of which class? Student class. So student. Okay, now map it to which mapping? Change, yeah, put mapping. Okay, and what is the endpoint you want to give? Update student. Okay, and then we are passing the roll number as the path variable, correct? So that also we have to take. So this is the object, so let's take the roll number first. At the rate path variable. Okay, this should match, this two should match. Okay, this two double quotes and the parenthesis content should match, and this you can give whatever you want to give. So if you want to give roll number, you give roll number. Okay, and give a comma because we have two arguments, right? Now this should make sense. Okay, we'll return a student object, that is why it is telling So now what to do first? Just directly call the update function of the. So controller will just pass it on to the repository, right? Controller will pass it to the repository or to the service. Service. So just call the service method and pass this to there. That's all. What the logic will be there will be the service. As mentioned, whatever business logic will be there, we will put the business logic in the service. So I call the update student, and what do I pass to it? Roll number and the stud user. I pass these over there, and I will return. So whatever this will return me, I will return it back. And now this function is not there, so I will create this function. Okay, now what to do over here? First thing first, from the database fetch this. Okay, so database is, we will interact with the database stored repo, right? So I will say stored repo dot what, get by id, find by id, whatever. So you want to get find by id, you can use find by id. So find by id, and which id are we searching? Find by, which method do we have to use? Find by id, and id is with whom? Roll number. So this object may be there, this object may be there, may not be there, correct? So if this is the case, then we have the optional class. Okay, an optional of what? Student. Okay, so it might return an object, it might return null also, it can return either of them. So it can return the object or it might return the null, and if it returns the object, it will come to which? Stud db, right? Okay, now you can check if that object is present or not. So you can check if, so either stud db will have two options, either it will have null or it will have the object. So you can check if it is present. So it is a function of, you can, optional is present. Okay, import the optional. You haven't imported the optional yet. Okay, so import the optional, okay, from this type builder. Now do what? What is the function we have to use? Is present. No, I guess optional will have to use from, not from this. Don't use the optional of this. Don't use this optional. I'll show you what optional to use. Let me check. Use the option from util package. From the java.util, use this optional. And now check whether it is present. So there is a function called as is present. So if this object is present in the database, then what do we have to do? Change all its values from where do we get the new values from? Stud user, correct? So what we will do? Stud db dot, what do we have to set? But otherwise the setter is not being accessed over here of stud db. Okay, then we have to get the values first. So once this object is created, if it is there, then what we have to do? We have to get it from the database. Okay. So what we have to do is stud db that get. So you have to get it from the database. So once you have got the object, now you can set its value. Now you can set its value. So you can okay, you can just call it as your temp object, let's say, and then what you can do is, and then stud db will also be of what type? what I've done over here is I've created a temporary object which is optional student, because in this temp, if this roll number is not there, it will return null, and if it is there, it will return the object. So I don't know what will come, so it is optional. It might have a null or it might have a student object. And now once I know that this temp has a student object, I will get that object and store it in the student db object. And now set the values for this to db. Now to db dot set, let's take the first variable, set age. From where will I get the age now? Stud user dot get age. Like this, keep on setting the other attribute of the stud. Set email. From where do I get the email? Set email. What happened? Stud user dot get email, right? Which is the third thing I need to set, name. So set name will be dot get sa. Now once this object is created, and what you can do is emp student repo dot save, and which object we have to save? Stud. Okay, so this will update our object. Now let's try to run this. So which object we need to update? First let's check in the database. Okay, so this is our database. From this SamDB database student, we have this Ian Charles. So I want to now change the values of George. Okay, from George I want to make him some Gomes. Okay, so I want to change this object. I want to change this object. So I will come here first and prepare a JSON of that. I want to change this object. So will I prepare the JSON for this? We had gone to the JSON, no? Yeah, so prepare the JSON for this. This will go as a path variable, right? This you don't need to change. So the new value we want, right? We will make him gomes.gmail.com, and his age is 33. So this is my request body. And what is the employee number I have to pass? Roll number I have to pass as 4. So then we can change that. It has changed the values of 4. The value of 4 will be then changed from 21 George to 33 Gomes and Holmes. So once I have got this, I will have to go to my API and create a new API. Okay, first thing first, you know what type of mapping we are using? Put mapping. Okay, first let's take an endpoint from somewhere. So let's take an endpoint from the path variable, that would be good. So path variable, we have taken the endpoint. Click on the API. Okay, and the endpoint is update student, and we are passing as a path variable the roll number of the student. Okay, student, and then mapping should be changed to put and whatever name you want to give, update student. Okay, using path variable and request body. Okay, that when I give you all this, you all can directly understand. Save. When I do a run, before doing a send, I will go to the body and I'm going to input in JSON format, and this is what is my new values. Nonsense. The new values will come. Okay, will come from here. Okay, not this. This is the. These are my new values. Name Gomes, age 33. Okay. Yeah. Now I can do a send. So let's see. It is showing some sort of error on update student put. We use put mapping, right? Yes. Gomes email and age. So it is showing internal error. Is there any entry in the logs? Okay, there is some entry in the logs also. Let's read that entry. What is the log telling? The log is telling us this method must return a type of student. Yeah. Okay, didn't it return a type of student? Okay, so didn't we have a return type of student? So when I go to the student service, this student should return type student. Yeah. So this should return. This should have done what? Remember, we have to return what we are saving. Still there is some redness over here. Add return statement here. Okay, the return statement was in the if, so it is not working. Put outside the if. Okay, the student DB was declared over here. The scope of student DB was inside the if, so it is telling you cannot return it. Okay, no need to duplicate it. Now it looks good. So I stop it and do. This is because we have to return the same object, so it is doing this. If you are not returning the same object, just returning void, then the old logic would have also worked. So now let's come here and check whether this is working fine now. So you just have to go and read the error messages, guys. No need to panic. Okay, now let's do a send. So it is still struggling to find. Let's see if there's any log entries. Is there any entries in the log? Okay, the log has thrown some record. What it is telling: local variable stored db may not have been initialized. Okay, should have been initialized. It should have been initialized. Okay, so let's say I initialize it to null. Okay, now let's say if I don't return that student, no, just save it and update it, then this all problems will not. This logic you don't have to use, just use directly. Don't use the return keyword. But as we are returning that object, so it is doing all these tantrums. Okay. Started, did a send, got it. Changes have been made, and if you want, you can go and verify in the database also. So earlier it was 4 George and George, and now it is 4 is Gomes. So understood how we did the update and why this service method. So all the logic, your business logic will come in the service method in your service class. So what I did over here is, from the student repo I said find by ID and I passed this roll number to it. Okay, it gave me I stored that in a temporary object, because this temporary object, if I pass 777, that roll number is not there, so it would come null in this. Okay, and if I passed a valid roll number, then I will check if this temp is there, then get that record and store in the student DB, and then make changes in the student DB and then save the student DB and save it as well as return the object also, because my return type is of type student. If my return type is void over here, if I say void, then this all problems would have not crept in. Directly I would have not returned this. Only thing I would have done is just take this over here and put it over here, because it is so. But now as we are returning the object, so it is, this logic had to be implemented. Okay,